And here we go.
Started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and now...
That's right. We are live.
The ghost faced himself, Brandon Hanafin.
This isn't like the start of last season when it was just, it looked like the Canucks were just a beer league team not playing defense at all. And just before Chris goes, no, I'm kidding, Chris, you can actually go now.
no, hold on.
Oh, we had to give more time for coming on late. So.
I still had, hold on. All right. Chris, go, and then I got something else to say at the end.
So, an elf and a midget in 2 back-to-back games. Yeah, he's definitely on a friendship tour for sure.
Saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with him being, the 6'7" defenseman. No! He is a AHL defenseman right now.
Look, Shonky, don't mind Devin, okay? We all struggle with Devin, so you know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast for Wednesday. I'm in news mode. Wednesday, April the 13th. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com. We're live there, Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com, Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com, Shifts and Pucks, and subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. As it has been... How long, Devin, has it been since you and I have done a podcast together?
It's been 2 weeks. It was last Wednesday or Monday. Not the last one, but yeah, it's been 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks. It's been a while.
It's been far too long. How have you been?
I've been struggling a little bit. The reason why I have not been on is because I was sick. Lovely non-COVID sickness, but it's definitely taken its toll on me, and I'm still recovering, but non-contagious anymore, which is always good.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
We've missed you. We always need your perspective, I think. Not that everyone else's perspective isn't great, but we don't have Devin's perspective, right?
Well, everybody's perspective is very important except for Sean. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, Sean will still argue with you, and I'm sure Sean will argue with you in some way, shape, or form. Even
I'll
if
get yelled at.
You'll get probably.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat. We'll get into this as well. We'll be talking Flames. We'll talk a little Leafs. We'll talk about the Las Vegas LTIRs. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. But apparently, we need to start with how I angered Jim Matheson from Oilers Media. I put out a tweet last week. It was during the road trip. I believe it was the Anaheim game. I said that, is it me or is Johnny Gaudreau the best passer in the National Hockey League?
Hashtag fuck Draisaitl, right?
Yeah, I did. I totally put that. Yeah. Yeah, and I said Draisaitl. I obviously from the way. Well, let me go through this here because I was like, oh yeah, I thought it was a pretty innocent tweet, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, why are Oiler fans just all over this? They're like, nope, I'm getting a lot of opposition, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't really care. I don't know who you guys are, whatever. And then I realized that Jim Matheson retweeted this tweet and made the claim that Leon Draisaitl was the better passer. And I didn't I in no way was I trying to insult Leon Draisaitl or any Edmonton Oiler fan by my comment, but clearly the Oiler fans were up in arms that I did not mention Leon Draisaitl as the greatest passer in the National Hockey League.
Well, did you have your tweet up there? Because I think you should direct quote what Matheson said.
Okay, hang on. Let me find it here. I believe it said. I believe the quote is. Hang on.
I'm trying to find it too right now. This is great podcasting as always.
I know he said ask the rank and file.
I think rank and file.
Yeah, he said it's okay. Hang on. I wasn't expecting to pull it up, so my apologies here.
No. I just think that the context of what Matheson was saying, I think, is important.
Here, there's an easy way to find it. Jim Matheson.
But listen, I mean, I'll give my 2 cents while you look that up.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
It's very funny that it is a Oiler. An Oiler perspective there that Draisaitl is the best passer, and realistically, Draisaitl is a great player in this league. He is he can dominate when he wants. He's a great playmaker, and obviously can put up points, right? But the fact that Matheson wasn't even willing to consider Johnny Gaudreau or say his name within that tweet as well, or give him any sort of credit, the fact that, first of all, Johnny Gaudreau last night hit 100 points. So congratulations to him as well. I'm sure we're going to bring that up later in the podcast as well. But it blows my mind that no one, you can't have two train of thoughts here. As far as, yes, Draisaitl is a great playmaker, but you got to give Johnny Gaudreau credit, especially with the year that he's having.
I found it. It is just you. Draisaitl is best passer as the NHL rank and file.
It's just you, Kev. No one else. No one else has that take either.
Well, okay, but I don't think this is the thing that I think people I think people are getting confused. I didn't say that Johnny Gaudreau was the best playmaker in the NHL. Passing and playmaking are not always the same thing.
No,
right. Literal Johnny Gaudreau at top speed passes the puck tape to tape. I don't even when people were saying no, it's Jonathan Huberdeau. I don't think at top speed he can pass as well as tape to tape the way that Johnny Gaudreau does. I don't think that Barkov can do that. I mean, I think tape to tape passing, get it as an example, and I don't want to take a shot at the Oilers here, but this may include some defensive play, like passing the puck from defense to forward, tape to tape, get it out of the zone. I don't know if I would put Leon Draisaitl in that conversation.
Well, to get it out of the defensive zone, that means he has to play defense.
I didn't say that.
You can at me all you want, Jim Matheson, all you want, please.
Well, they're all fighting now. It looks like they're all fighting with Jim Matheson now again. So, yeah,
good.
Yeah.
But you are right. There are different types of playmakers within this league and passers within this league that having a good first pass out of your zone is huge. Being able to pass on the power play, that's another great skill. But being able to pass in the neutral zone or flying in on a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-2, whatever the case may be, Johnny Gaudreau is one of the best, if not the best in the league, period. And if you think otherwise, that's totally fine, because there are, you already listed a few off there. You have Barkov, Huberdeau, and Draisaitl, Sidney Crosby. The list goes on and on for each individual player. And you really have to give credit where credit's due, though. And it's not about, this person is better than this person. It's more about giving credit to the player when he's having a hell of a year. And Johnny Gaudreau is having a hell of a year. He's having the best year of his career.
Well, I even think the other thing with the passing part, and I want to get a defensive perspective on this too, but the pass, I remember the goal, it was Anaheim, and it was an Elias Lindholm goal, and he talks about he knows exactly where to go when Johnny Gaudreau is on the ice. He knows when Johnny's behind the net, he knows exactly where to go. And if I remember the goal correctly, I think there were 3 sticks in the way. It was not like Lindholm was wide open when he made that pass. So to find the ability to put it tape to tape between 3 sticks. That's, to me, an amazing skill. And I don't that's, why can't that be admired?
100% it can. There's a skill there. It's not just hard passes from tape to tape. People can, hockey players can do that from AAA midget all the way up to, and people or players even at AAA midget have a hard time making tape to tape passes on the ice, right? But doing a saucer pass at a certain speed, at a certain height, as far as like the speed of the puck goes, and let alone trying to figure out, okay, where do I need to put this to make it best for the player that I'm passing it to for a one-timer or to set up a good goal. There's so many different factors that are involved within passing in the NHL, and you're 100% right. Having traffic in front or traffic in between you and that other player, it's a massive skill, especially in the best league in the world.
Yeah. And I mean, like, even from a defensive perspective, it's just, there should be, I mean, I think Adam Fox is up there as a great passer. I would agree with that. Jacob Slavin is a great passer. I would put Chris Tanev is a great passer of the puck. It's just, sometimes it's even getting that simple play. But I guess my point is passing the puck is such an important skill. And with Johnny too, there's a lot of times when he passes the puck, especially in the offensive zone, I've noticed he's not looking at the player. Like he's flying. There's the goal against Columbus, that Lindholm's goal against Columbus, Gaudreau's flying down the right. He's not it's a no look pass. Like, to me, that is, I think Draisaitl is a great playmaker, and what Draisaitl is great is he's able to put himself into quiet areas to get himself open. I mean, few can do what he does, but like in terms of top speed passing, I don't think there's anyone better than Gaudreau.
No, it's a great argument to have. There, a lot of hockey sense and skill needs to be involved within that. Hockey sense is very underrated, and it just, you make people around you better with having that hockey sense. Skill is one thing, and let's say Mike Hoffman, he has a skill of putting the puck in net on the power play. That's what he's known for, right? But 5-on-5, he has a hard time doing that because I don't think he has the hockey sense to put himself in the proper positions or help other his teammates out to try and get a goal or to do anything else, really. And people have their specialties. Players have their specialties for sure. But man, Johnny Gaudreau, he is showing this year that when he's put in the proper on a proper line, essentially, because he really hasn't had a top line center. No offense, Sean Monahan. Back in the day, yeah, you and him had good chemistry, but still, I don't think even at Sean Monahan's prime, he wasn't doing the things that Elias Lindholm and Johnny Gaudreau are doing. And having talk about hockey sense, Matthew Tkachuk is one of the best in the league. So when you combine all that together with Johnny Gaudreau's skill, you get a 100-point season, or a 101-point season as he is right now. Yeah. And again, I know the other thing that I've been saying, and I feel like too many people are pushing back, including Sean. I think Sean wouldn't put him here, but I'm going to put him again to this. And last night was a good evidence of this. The Flames are down 3-1 to the Seattle Kraken. This team, and it's not their A game. I don't think that they played very. It was. I don't even like they. It was a terrible game from the Flames for 2 periods. But Johnny Gaudreau put the team on his back and got the team the win. That to me is an MVP performance. Johnny Gaudreau right now is showing that he is a leader of the team, and that to me is why he has to be in the Hart Trophy conversation. Is because, as definition, most valuable to your team, that is what Johnny Gaudreau exactly is. Johnny Gaudreau to me is in that and it's not like you can argue the argument that people are making against Roman Josi, for example, is
there's other players in Nashville that are playing really well. And it's not about a team, one guy necessarily carrying the team, but without him, the team can't do it. And
Well,
to me, it's good. To me, that's why Gaudreau has to be in the conversation.
MVP to me is okay. Take away that player from your roster. How does your team look? Right. Take away, and you can make that argument for any type of good to generational to superstar player. Yes, but there's still like that question still has its value within this conversation, right? So take away Johnny Gaudreau from that top line. What are they? They're still a great line. Who do you put on the left wing? I really don't know. Dubé, Mangiapane, but once again, that's no Johnny Gaudreau, right?
Yeah, not even close.
How are you going to replace those 101 points?
Yep.
Period. And Roman Josi, for those people who are bashing Roman Josi and say, well, not bashing, but saying that he's not MVP caliber, he's putting up unbelievable points right now. I'm actually just going to bring it up right now. But he's the leader of that team. He's a defenseman, and he is I think he's second in scoring for defensemen behind Cale Makar. And Cale Makar is on a different fucking level too. But Roman Josi needs to be in that conversation.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's look at the stats by player. By defenseman. Because of course McDavid lead one. Okay, is McDavid, Huberdeau, Draisaitl, Gaudreau. There's only 4 players by the way, and Matthews will get to 100 probably with his next game.
Yeah. Josi has 87 points, and he's leading. And then you have Cale Makar with 10 points less, 77.
Yeah,
and then Victor Hedman, Fox, Carlson. Yeah, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, but to me, I mean, my final 3 right now are Matthews, Gaudreau, Josi. I would put in by Hart Trophy conversation. With an honorable mention to Jonathan Huberdeau because he's had a fantastic year too, and it's no disrespect. Like, to me, the Ted Lindsay Award, we just should give that to Connor McDavid because that's over, right? I think everyone is in agreement that Connor McDavid is the best player in the league. Nobody's going to argue that. But the argument about MVP, to me, it's Matthews, Gaudreau, and Josi. Those would be my 3.
Yeah, those are definitely up there for sure. Huberdeau is right there as well for me. I don't think it's a top 3 for me. It's a top 4. I would have a hard time getting it down and not having Jonathan Huberdeau a part of that conversation. And I know that we were talking about Igor Shesterkin as well, but I think he's fallen off the map a little bit here. He hasn't been really the goaltender he was at the beginning or the first 3 quarters of the year. So no disrespect to anybody really. You have a good pick between, in my consideration, the top 4 of Josi, Huberdeau, Matthews, and Gaudreau. Either one of them deserve it for sure. And you're going to have whoever wins it. That there's going to be a bunch of people saying, "Oh no, this other player should have gotten it," or whatever the case may be. It's all part of interpretation. I think that you really need to make sure that my biggest worry is the Hart is done by the writers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're voted by the writers. And my biggest concern would be the writers in the East not being able to see Josi or Johnny Gaudreau enough, because it is a big time change, right? 2 hours between here and or about the Mountain Time and Eastern, and 1 hour difference between the Central and the Eastern time zone as well. But I think you understand what I'm saying I just really hope that they are able to understand how big of an impact Johnny Gaudreau has for the Flames and really deserves to be in this conversation.
Yeah. I think that the writers are starting to get there. I don't think that there's any dispute about that.
Well, I think there's also because there's no timeline. There's no like, okay, end date to get your article in for the paper the next day. Newspapers are dying very much, and obviously you have The Athletic and you have a lot of online or majority of online content anyway. So I don't think that is an issue anymore.
Well, and I think also the thing with The Athletic that The Athletic does well is they do cover everybody really well. So if you're reading The Athletic, you would know that where Gaudreau is at, you would know where Roman Josi is at, and that kind of eliminates the East bias a little bit. But I mean, it's hard to argue Auston Matthews' year at 55 goals. I mean, that is hard to argue the way he's played. That to me, I would put him as the winner right now, but that's just me. But I guess we'll see. The other thing, but I think that we'll talk about the 100 points. Daryl Sutter was asked about that last night after the game, and I thought his comment again was Daryl very Captain Sutter-esque. Let me find the quote here. Let me find it here. Sorry. It was for Kristen Anderson. How tough is it serious for a player to get 100 points? Daryl Sutter. I don't care. Does that win the Stanley Cup? I'd rather have the guys that win the scoring race in the playoffs. So then Daryl talked about this, Devin, and this is sort of the dilemma. And it's all good for Johnny. And I don't think that, like, Daryl has also said, just back to the best passer in the league. One of the other reasons why I would put Johnny in that is something that Daryl Sutter has said about Johnny Gaudreau is he's the best checker on the team. To me, you have to be a good passer to be a good checker. Like that to me is symmetry, isn't it? Am I wrong?
I don't think so. If you're checking well, then you need to be to be considered. Well, I don't know if it's symmetry, but in order for you to be a really good player, doing both is a necessity, and to be in that conversation, because once you check the puck off of the opposing player, they need to do something with it. And are you gonna Connor McDavid it and just do it a one-man show? We've seen that before. We've seen that being tried by Johnny Gaudreau, and it worked his first year. And it took him about 2 or 3 years of being in the league to kind of transition, instead of doing it all himself, of winding up in the neutral zone, dipping into the defensive zone, and then coming in with a bunch of speed, trying to stick handle around everybody. The league figured that out pretty damn fast. And once he realized that he needs to tweak his game a little bit to suit the NHL style, then you need to make sure that you're able to pass the puck very well.
Yeah. Speaking of tweak, because I think you'll need to tweak again when it comes to the playoffs. And I think that one of the things that Daryl Sutter has said, or should we be calling him Captain Sutter?
Well, you already did it once, so why not?
Okay. Captain Sutter has spoken a lot this week about there's been too much focus on individual play and not enough focus on team play. And I don't think that Daryl is upset that Johnny Gaudreau has 100 points. I just think that he's trying to put everything in perspective, and he talks about how the Flames don't have the respect yet in the league. All of that. 100 points is great, but if they're out in the first round, it's not a successful year. And I even think that Johnny would understand that.
For sure. It is all about the team. The way that Sutter conducts himself in the media is to play as the underdog, not have high expectations he has high expectations for his team, but isn't gloating about how well they're doing, because he is 100% right. It doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. It's about getting into the playoffs. And I think maybe a bit of a segue, not yet, but talking about why Markstrom is playing so much is because they haven't solidified the playoff spot yet. And that's the first thing. You want to make sure you at beginning of the year, you want to create good habits. You want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and playing as a team. Mid-season, you want to make sure that continues, but then you start switching the conversation into a playoff conversation. And one thing that I think to talk about Mike Babcock for a little bit, he talked about 7-game segments. He tried to get his players in the mindset of a 7-game segment. It's like, okay, well, we need to make sure that we are winning 4 out of those 3 games in those 7-game segments, just so that you can be prepared for the playoffs when they come and understand what needs to be done within that time period. And I think that's what Daryl Sutter is trying to do with his team, and make sure they're not trying to get too high, not trying to get too low. That's why when they lose, he doesn't bash them or anything like that. He says, oh, I thought we played well. And he focuses on the good things, because not every game is perfect. There are good and bad things that happen within a 60-minute game. There's over 200 mistakes that happen within a game.
Right.
And you want to make sure that you do have a level head going into each game. And when the team wins, he criticizes them, because he knows that, obviously you won. And last night, where the fuck were they for the first 40 minutes? Realistically, that was atrocious. That was bad hockey as far as the Flames went. And he decided to switch things up, put Vladar in net, and they were able to win that one. If you just look at this, the box score, Flames won again. But realistically, in 60 minutes, that was a terrible effort. So I commend Daryl Sutter in the way that he conducts himself in the media, because he is wanting to make sure that it isn't going to be a one and done as far as being out in the first round this year, because his eyes are set on lifting that Stanley Cup. And I 100% agree with the way that he's talking to the media.
Okay, let's get to the lines here, and then I want to talk about the defense first, because before we get into our annual or our weekly Markstrom Vladar conversation. So the lines, and they switched them last night, and they kept them for the practice. Lindholm, Gaudreau, Mangiapane, Backlund, Dubé, Kachuk, Yarncrow, Coleman, Toffoli, Carpenter, Lucic, Lewis, Ruzicka, Valimaki now taking that forward position, Brett Ritchie. Defensively, Hanafin, Anderson, Shillington, Tanev, Zadorov, Goodbranson, Mackey, Stone. I thought Connor Mackey acquitted himself really well in San Jose. I thought he was okay in Seattle. And if to me, of course, the shining star here was Michael Stone. But I think that the good thing is the Flames have got. I don't think Connor Mackey is truly fully ready for National Hockey League. I think he's getting there, but I think they can use him in a pinch if they need him to. But ultimately, I was concerned about the Flames not getting a defenseman. But really, what ends up happening here is, with the unfortunate injury to Monahan, Mackey gets called up. That's almost better than doing the trade deadline acquisition, which, if it was a Ben Sherratt, would have been a first-round pick. If it was a Brett Kulak, would have been a second-round pick. That's better, and it's a depth defenseman. And to me, the Flames got out better not making a trade for a depth defenseman with the prices that we're at.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The prices were too high for those depth defensemen. Looking internally, you want to make sure that you have that depth within your organization, and having Connor Mackey as a 8th, 9th defenseman, I think is perfect. I'm really curious to see where Valimaki's game is at. I really hope that he progresses and has progressed within this year. And yeah, he's been injured a few times within this hockey season, but man, it's what a fall from grace that is. But as far as the other depth goes, Michael Stone, I He's hit and miss with me. I see little glimpses of brilliance and then just kind of fuck ups, and I do have a hard time with him. But having him as a seventh defenseman, I think is a nice little stopgap between going to a Valimaki or a Connor Mackey, getting them in the lineup. But then, yeah, you do have Shillington, Tanev, Hanafin, Anderson, and Zadorov and Branson, and those have been the mainstays for us, for the Calgary Flames for this entire year. And yeah, the depth is there, which is good. But if you do have to rely on Connor Mackey to play more than 11 minutes a game, that's where I would have a bit of an issue, and hopefully that does not come to fruition, because that I don't think that would work out well for Connor Mackey's confidence, his development, and obviously for the Flames in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, if they're practicing with the regular group, that's a good sign. I mean, yeah, I would go with the 6 that you have, like the 6 that they're playing. I think that's the 6 to me, and then Stone would be your 7th, Mackey would be your 8, and I just think another year with Valimaki, that would be fine. Now, Dan was on last week from Fireside Chat. He suggested 2 options. He suggested that we discussed the idea of Dan Vladar after if they won in Los Angeles. Oh, sorry, it was L.A. Was that Monday game? Oh, yeah, it was the Monday game. That game
LA.
I'm talking about, that was Anaheim. It was L.A., not Anaheim. Sorry.
Yeah, anyway. Anaheim was Wednesday.
Right. Okay. Anyway, but after the LA win, his suggestion was play Vladar for the rest of the road trip. And Daryl Sutter clearly does not listen to this podcast, because that's not what he did. Actually, he kept playing Jacob Markstrom. But his other theory is you go with Markstrom until you clinch, and then you play Vladar. I don't know if when do they clinch, I guess, is the question here, because they should clinch the playoffs by Thursday. At least the latest would be Saturday, I would think, when they're playing Arizona. That should be the clinch there.
It should be. Yeah, because I think right now, what is it, 4 points? And they'll clinch, essentially, unless 4 wins, if Edmonton wins their next few. Am I right with that?
So I think that way. Okay, so Vegas is the playoff. Okay, so they're 14 ahead of Vegas, and Vegas has 8 games to go. So the magic number for the playoffs is 2. They're 9 points ahead of the Oilers. So the magic, with Oilers having 8, the magic number would be 7 points. So if they beat Vegas on Thursday, that should clinch the playoffs. And then from there, it's about clinching first.
Yes.
And
in the Pacific, yeah.
In the Pacific, yeah. Because they're not going to catch the Colorado for first in the conference.
No, I don't think so. That's a far gone conclusion. So then within these next games, obviously tomorrow they'll roll out Markstrom. But what do you think for the next I guess, what is that, 8 games left? Yeah. Because you have Arizona on Saturday, which you think would be Vladar, right?
Yeah, but he, again, Sutter, Daryl played Markstrom both of the Seattle games, and we were thinking that Vladar would get one of those.
Yep.
Maybe I'll go with what I would. I would.
Yeah,
almost,
go with what you do.
This is what I would actually. This may be controversial, but I would probably throw Vladar in against Vegas and Markstrom against Arizona. I think Markstrom's tired. I would give Vladar Arizona, Chicago. I would give Markstrom, I would actually rotate here for the rest of the year. I'd go Vladar, Vegas, Markstrom, Arizona, Vladar, Chicago, Markstrom, Nashville, and then Markstrom, and then you're back home against Dallas. You can go back to Vladar if you're going with a theory, because that could be. You've got Nashville, Dallas there, which are potential 2 first-round matchups there. So, I could see Markstrom getting one of those, and you got Nashville again. So on the 26th. So I think you split for the Nashville games. You split Nashville. You split Markstrom, Vladar. If I go Vladar, Markstrom, Vladar, Markstrom, Vladar, you give Markstrom the 2038 against Vancouver, the one that you guys are going to.
Yeah.
You give Markstrom Nashville, and then I think you give Vladar 28th, 29th. I think you give him the rest of the road trip.
Yeah, you definitely could do that. And then I guess the other question is like, okay, if you look at the schedule, right? The Flames' last game is on the 29th, right? And then when does the playoffs start? Usually it takes after the very last game of the NHL season, which would be, I'm just scrolling down here, which would be the May 1st is the last.
Yeah, there's only one game. That's the Kraken Winnipeg game it's because of the snowstorm.
That's right. So May 1st, which is a Sunday. I would think that sets up perfect for Wednesday night, May 4th. May the 4th be with you for the start of the playoffs. And if you look at, say if Markstrom gets the 28th as his last start against Minnesota, then he has 29th and 30th. And then, so it's basically 5 days off.
Yeah.
6 days off. 6 days off he would get. 5 or 6 days. Yeah. So I think that's enough time for him to recover, recoup, and get ready. But it's a fine balance between giving him rest and making sure he's in a rhythm, right? Because if he's not in a rhythm, then that's no good for the Flames and their playoff chances. So I would say for the rest of the year, you have Vegas, Markstrom. Arizona's going to be Markstrom. Then you have Chicago for Vladar, Markstrom for Nashville, Vladar for Dallas, Markstrom for Vancouver, Markstrom for Nashville, and then Markstrom for Minnesota, and you have Vladar for Winnipeg. That'd be my guess. Or do you give the quote-unquote easier matchup at the very end and go Minnesota, Vladar, and Winnipeg, Markstrom?
I would probably go Vladar. It depends on where Winnipeg. It doesn't. I don't think you're facing Winnipeg in the first round, so I don't know if it matters. But
Well, Winnipeg's pretty much out of it, right? They're most likely out of it because right now they have 81 points. And Vegas is sitting just out at 85. So that's a 4-point difference. And Dallas is in that wild card at 88. Right. And so that's probably not going to be the biggest difference. But I guess you're also Las Vegas LA has really come out of grace as well with 88 points as well.
Yeah. Well, typically, to me, if you're not playing Markstrom back to backs, and
no,
Minnesota will be a battle because they're in a battle for home ice against St. Louis. So that I would think that game's going to be important. Nashville, I guess the interesting question is what you do with Nashville, because to me they look like the likely first round matchup for the Flames. So I'm curious what you do with those 2 games in Nashville. Do you play Markstrom for both of them? Do you split them? Or do you give Vladar both of them? Because, and the reason I asked that is he actually, although people are thinking way ahead, Sutter went with Vladar against Colorado.
Twice.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there could have been a bunch of different reasons for that, other than I don't think Darryl was thinking way ahead and saying, yeah, we're going to be playing Colorado in the, I don't think Darryl had that mindset.
No, it's all circumstantial. Yes, you have your at the beginning of the year, you look at your list here, you look at your schedule, and you map it out as best you can. And there are issues with that, obviously, with getting basically maybe a bit of a groin tweak or a small injury or a sickness that throws it all out of whack, right? And it is all playing it by ear. But I guess no matter how they break it up here, I would want to see Markstrom for 5 more games this year and have Vladar get 4. And I know that's not going to be the case. I think it will be 3 or even 2 games for Vladar, and Markstrom will have the rest of the 9 games. And I don't know. We know even doing this exercise with you, I'm just thinking to myself, well, who the fuck knows? Darryl Sutter is going to do what Darryl Sutter wants, and it's never ever what we think it's going to be.
Well, here, I guess the other part of this question here is you've got 2 games against Nashville on the road. I think you take, okay, so I think the one against Nashville on the 19th, when you're doing the back-to-back to Chicago to Nashville, I think you're taking everybody. That's obvious. But going forward, that game on the 26th, that 3-game road trip, I'm going to be fascinated what they do there and how they play Nashville, because that will probably be... That's an interesting game, because that will mean nothing, but that could be something that Nashville could build confidence on and think, okay, this is where we would have this is how we could beat Calgary. And I'm really fast. I guess the other question, maybe we'll address this down the road here, but who do the Flames take on that 3-game road trip to end the year?
I think it's going to be everybody. I think everybody's going to be there. Maybe not on the roster per se, but I think that everybody is going to be there. And it's going to be, once again, playing it by ear. But I think what you do is you don't have your full lineup in that last 3. And you do have people sitting. And that might be a Milan Lucic. That might be, depending on who is injured and who is banged up, who needs that rest. It's really interesting to kind of go through this exercise, because you don't know what everybody's health is, right? And you could definitely see potentially them throwing caution to the wind and going with the exact same lineup, and maybe have 1 or 2 tweaks on that the bottom 6 or the 4th line, if you will. Or you could see them go the opposite way and try and rest as many people as they can without getting out of a rhythm, because you need to make sure you have that rhythm going into the playoffs. You need to be going off on a high note. And I could potentially see them doing Nashville, Minnesota with maybe not the opening playoff lineup, and then having your very last game with your opening lineup to make sure that everybody is clicking and everybody knows what they need to do. Because you need to make sure you're running into the playoffs on a high note.
Yeah. It's the whole. Yeah, I think this is just so fascinating to me.
It is. It really is. They could go in. That's the thing with Darryl Sutter. You don't know. You have no idea.
Well, and that's great. That's great. And I think we're often worried about injuries, and I'm more worried about injuries for the Nashville game, because I just have that, because to me they look like the first round matchup, unless I'm seeing something differently. To me, they look like it's either going to be Nashville, Dallas in my mind that we're seeing in the first round.
I don't think there's maybe LA, if LA keeps on falling and Vegas gets in. Well,
if Vegas flies in, but
right. Vegas definitely could, especially with having their whole cap situation the way that it is right now.
Yes, the LTIRs.
Yes.
Your Vegas LTIRs. Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways that it could go. It could be Nashville, Dallas, potentially even Vegas, LA, maybe. I don't know. Like there's a lot could happen within this next 2 weeks that we have left here.
Yeah. And if you're the Flames, the other thing here, just with Vegas, I would think that this is a team that you don't want to get in and have in the playoffs. So if you can knock them out, if you can keep them out of the playoffs, I think it gives you a better chance to win because of Vegas getting healthy. So if you can win that game tomorrow and knock them the hell out of the playoff race, that's beneficial for you. So I think it's chips all in. It's chips all in against Vegas, and they'll be better than they were against Seattle.
Yeah. Yep. They fucking hope so.
Yeah. Well, you have to be.
Yeah. That'd be a massive, massive fall from grace for the Flames. And they've obviously they swept that road trip that they had here with LA, Anaheim, San Jose, and Seattle. But there were stretches in that in that during that time that made me question, okay, well, you can't be on the entire time. You can't have your A game the entire time. And you guys they were able to get the win. But man, watching that game last night as well, those first 40 minutes was shit.
Yeah. Yeah. They had 3 straight terrible periods against Seattle. The third period on Saturday, I didn't think they were good. And then the first 2 periods at home against Seattle, I didn't think they were very good. And the Kraken got into penalty trouble. The Flames capitalized and the game changed.
Yep.
But yeah, you need to play better than that.
I think it really just comes down to Markstrom. If you run into a hot goalie, Markstrom, if he's hot, watch out.
Yeah.
Right. And how are you like with the other thing we haven't really talked about right now is the bottom 9. It's been or even that top line. You don't want to really touch that top line of Gaudreau, Lindholm, and Tkachuk. But you saw that last night, and within this practice this morning, the lines that are different than they once were. It's really hard to figure out. Okay, well, where does everybody fit? And you would think that they would have or would be able to figure this out. And yeah, Järnkrok unfortunately got sick. And you weren't able to figure out exactly where he is best suited. But taking Tkachuk off that top line, putting Mangiapane, I think that's a good little mix there, a good little tweak. Then you have, Dubé, Backlund, and Toffoli, right?
Dubé, Backlund to Tkachuk.
Tkachuk, sorry. That's what I meant. Yeah, Tkachuk, Lucic, Carpenter, Lewis, which is an interesting third, quote-unquote, third line.
Fourth.
And then, fourth, sorry. Yeah. And then your third line is Järnkrok, Toffoli, and Coleman. And I like that. I do like that third line. I'm just kind of curious. And Dubé's played very, very well ever since he got sat out for, 2 games?
Yeah.
From Daryl Sutter. He's played very well. And I'd be curious even maybe potentially putting Dubé back in the center. In that center position between even a centering Coleman and Toffoli. I think that would be a sneaky good line and put Järnkrok on that Backlund shutdown line because we know Tkachuk can do that. We know Mangiapane could do that and keep that potentially keep that Lindholm, Gaudreau, Tkachuk line together. But the biggest thing is that we don't know what works right now, and that's kind of scary. 2.5 weeks left in the season, 9 games to go.
My biggest concern is the middle 6, because like Mangiapane has struggled. I mean, we didn't say anything. I think that he struggled the last little bit trying to find goals. Blake Coleman has had no puck luck. I think he's played well, but no puck luck. My concern with Järnkrok is maybe you're right. Maybe Järnkrok is better on the wing, and maybe Dubé is better at center. And I wonder if that is an option, because I don't think he looks fully comfortable at center.
He can play center, but yeah, I'm with you. The Dubé, and I guess it wouldn't be. It's who's better at center. Is it Dubé or is it Jarnkrok? Who's better right now at center?
I'd be opening to see Dubé at center,
because we've seen it already this year, right?
I don't think I have enough evidence to say that Dubé's better than Jarnkrok at center yet, though.
Well, and it's a small sample size for both of them, right? Dubé has played center in the past. Same with Jarnkrok, and Jarnkrok has played center in Seattle. But it really as far as a number 3 center goes, or depending on how you really chalk up your lines, how 1, 2, 3, and I know some people hate it, but that's just the reality of it, is having Backlund with either Tkachuk or Dubé or Mangiapane. I don't know. My biggest thing is that we need to make sure the Calgary Flames need to make sure who's your shutdown line with Backlund. Who's going to be there? Is it Toffoli? Is it Toffoli and Mangiapane? Is it going to be Jarnkrok and Toffoli? Is Tkachuk going to be a part of that? Because Tkachuk has been on Backlund's line the majority of his career.
Well, I would think you're going back to Lindrum, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk at some point. But I wonder, what about this as an idea? Backlund, Jarnkrok, Mangiapane. Then you have Carpenter, Coleman, and Toffoli, and Dubé with Lewis and Lucic, because Dubé and Lewis have worked before, and Lucic and Lewis, I think, work pretty well together as a fourth line. What about that?
It's not a bad one. We did have Dubé, Lucic, and Bennett together at the end of last year, right? And they played very, very well, and arguably the best. They were the best line for the Flames. And just, I know, not saying Bennett is the same as Lewis, but you could definitely chalk it up that way for sure. My only concern with having Carpenter in between Coleman, but not so much Coleman, but Toffoli, is, can Carpenter feed Toffoli the puck? Is Carpenter a significant? Is good enough to be a playmaker for Toffoli?
Is Dubé?
I'd say, as of right now, yes. I'd say Dubé is a better playmaker for Toffoli than Carpenter is. It's just because we all I've heard from Carpenter is that he's a good fourth line center and maybe a bottom 6 player, but I don't know what tools he has. And maybe this is the good time to figure it out. But once again, you only have 9 games left. You have 2.5 weeks to go. How much are you willing to juggle the lines until you hopefully find some chemistry, or do you leave a certain amount of players together to try and create some chemistry? It's a fine balance between both, because you don't want to be going into the playoffs with not knowing what you have within your bottom 9 or bottom 6. Because those are the matchups that are going to be the difference maker. If you look at, okay, we're going to be playing Nashville. You have Duchesne, that Duchesne line, which is unreal, right? I'm just going to pull up the lines here. So you have Johansson, Forsberg, and Tomasino. Whew, Tomasino, big upgrade for you there, bud. Granlund, Tolvanen, Duchesne, Sissons, Treinen, and Janot. And then you have Luff, Kunin, and Cousins. And say, for instance, okay, you look at that, then those top 2 lines, they usually can cancel out each other, right? It's a bottom 6 that you want to make sure that you put in the right matchups that they can capitalize when they're out there against potentially not as good as a defensive unit as a Forsberg, Johansson, Tomasino, if you have last change.
Well, that Sissons, Trenin, Janot line scares me a bit, because I really like Tanner Janot. I don't think a lot of people are talking about Trenin enough, but that's a really good third line. for sure.
Yep.
The other option is I threw this out to Dan. He said no, but what about Blake Coleman at center?
You definitely could. He's a right shot, right? No, he's a left shot. He's a left shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could, but I don't. Man, it seems like a bit of a half bit of a downgrade from having Dubé at center. You have the experience there from Coleman, and yes, he can play, but you would think that getting a Carpenter and getting a Yarncroc would help solidify the center position, but it really doesn't seem like it. And obviously, not having a Sean Monahan in that lineup, I think is underappreciated for the fact that he could win draws. He could win over 50% of your draws, and you could trust him with that. Yes, he wasn't a fast skater. Yes, he was a step behind, and yes, his shot wasn't there anymore. But it doesn't take away from that he was a great center.
Yeah, in terms of how he was evolving his game, I totally agree with you. I guess my biggest, I'm going to get in trouble here what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. I think my biggest concern is Backlund. Because if he's the Backlund that we know and love, the Flames are fine. But if he's not, that's where this gets into trouble here.
Are you talking about more so his offensive game, or his
all-round? I don't think he's been. I can't say that I've noticed Michael Backlund as much as other years.
Yeah. Okay. As far as his offensive production for the past few years here,
he's got 12 goals this year. I mean, that's
12 goals, 35 points in 73 games. He had 32 points in 54 games last year, 45 the year before in 70, and 47. So he's maybe a hair below where he should be, but he's on track, very close to where his average is for a year. But I agree with you. He hasn't been noticeable enough for me to be confident that he will be the player we need him to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. He hasn't scored in those last 8 games.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. I mean, that's the one interesting question here, because if he's the Michael Backlund we know and love, I think the Flames are fine. But that's going to be the question.
For sure. And it's also who's around him, right? Is Mangiapane clipping like he should be? Because he should regress to where he should be, which is not as good as he was at the beginning of the year, but not as bad as he is now, right?
Right. Although he played really well last night.
Yeah, he popped last night for sure. One of the only players that I could really say about the first 40 minutes at least, but they just had a hard time getting out of the defensive zone. That first pass was terrible, absolutely terrible, and that's how crucial that is, because they got hemmed in a bunch of times in that first period and that second period by not being able to transition properly.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say Johnny's a good passer.
Making full circle here. I love it.
Yes. In terms of anything else with the Flames, is there anything else we need to get into here, or?
I just want to give props to Noah Hanafin.
Yes.
He's played outstanding this past week and a half to 2 weeks, and even throughout this entire year. But he's been popping a lot more. Maybe not so much this last game, but I'm really happy to see his progression, and it's been a slow progression, and that pairing with Anderson has been, it's not not a flashy like a Roman Josi, Victor Hedman. You don't have like a massive part, or Cale Makar, a massive part on that on that top pairing, but as committee they've done very well.
Well, Anderson gave a very interesting interview yesterday, I want to say, that him and Hanafin had a huge blowout blow up a little earlier in the year where they weren't, and Anderson said that there was a stretch that he wasn't playing well, and there was a stretch that Hanafin wasn't playing well, and they had a huge blow up. And ever since then, he's felt that they've clicked. So
sometimes that's what you need. You have a blow up with a partner, a teammate, a friend, and you usually come out better on the other side.
Yeah.
Usually.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And Chris Tanev said something here. I'm just looking for it. Wes Gilbertson had it.
Yeah, we haven't gushed about Tanev, but Tanev is Tanev now. It's just we know what to get from him.
Tanev. This is what Tanev said about Noah Hanafin, though. Noah's an incredible player, a very, very smart player. He does everything well. He's such a good skater. He's very smart. He moves the puck well. And a definitely underrated part of his game is the offensive zone. I mean, watch how many pucks he gets in that. He's always shooting for sticks and making those little plays. Obviously, I had a great opportunity to play with him last year, and he sort of just kept grooving, and he's playing right now for us. He does it all. He's helped our team tremendously, and he's going to get better for us over the next 2 weeks and hopefully for a lot longer. Good endorsement from Tanev.
Absolutely. If he's saying good things, he means it. He's not just pumping tires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that this is, it's interesting. Yeah. So we'll see what the Flames, as we go through here, hopefully by next Wednesday, they have everything clinched. I think they'll have the playoff clinched by Saturday. And hopefully after that Nashville game, they have first place clinched, and we can kind of look ahead to the rest of the season. But you are going to the game on Saturday, the 23rd. It's yourself and Sean. And did you hear who won the tickets?
I know Dylan is one of them.
And Jeremy Harris.
Harris
from Terrace won the other one. So congratulations. They're working out how to get to the Pig and Duke and join you for the game. So that's exciting.
Well, Dylan and I can have a long conversation about the Ducks and all that fun stuff, because I know him and I, we butt heads every once in a while, but I'm excited to meet him for the first time.
Awesome. And then Jeremy you'll meet as well.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll have other contests coming up here for sure. We have plans, so keep an eye out for them. So we don't have a word of the week this week.
The word of the week is Devin is awesome. And that's the word of the week.
Devin is awesome. Word of the week. I'll put that in the rest of the way there. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes. But yeah, keep retweeting our stuff and all of that sort of stuff as well. So let's get to other NHL. And let's start with the Las Vegas. We'll touch. Let's go to Vegas. Markstrom, the Vegas Golden Knights, found a way. They were looking for change under the couch, change under the mattress. They did they tore down their rooms, looking for money anywhere to find a way to get Markstrom back in the lineup. And lo and behold, Nolan Patrick, William Carrier, and Laurent Brossoit went on to LTIR, and it was enough money to get Markstrom back in the lineup last night, although Vegas did lose to Vancouver in overtime. But it feels like this whole thing, I mean, it goes back to Kucherov. It feels like this is rubbing people the wrong way. And I believe that these players are injured. I know that Nolan Patrick has been injured for some time.
Same with Brossoit.
Yeah, they are injured. And it feels weird. It feels like they're circumventing the rules. Like, can I just say something about Kucherov? This is maybe the difference that maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of looked at Kucherov last year and I went, I kind of don't blame him for not wanting to play during that COVID bubble. I thought it was a pain in the ass. And if he was injured, I kind of got it. And then Tampa Bay said, yeah, well, let's just wait to get you in the playoffs. This just feels to me, and I think maybe the other part of this, as I'm thinking in my head, it's the way that Vegas treats players. You had Marc-Andre Fleury find out via text or Twitter that he was traded to Chicago. They are treating players like they are poker chips. And it just, like, for this organization, the way that they run things, I think I'm more suspicious because I don't like the way that Vegas is treating everybody as an organization. I just think they treat people I don't think they treat people very well, and that's what's leaving me suspicious.
Yeah, I'm more of on the opposite side of things as of right now, as far as the Tampa Bay comparison. Listen, Kucherov came back and he lit the world on fire when he was in the playoffs. He was amazing, which makes me think that, okay, maybe the timeline for his return was perfect, or he was able to play maybe a month before, maybe half a month before the playoffs started, but he chose not to, right? If you watched the game last night, and I think that you can kind of tell that Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone are not 100%, right? I don't think that they are 100% able, or they're just not 100% healthy as of right now. And I think that's the difference between the two, is that the Tampa, especially with the fact that they were wearing $18 million over the cap t-shirts with Kucherov chugging beer. They wore those. And so it kind of makes me suspicious towards that end of things. But I think Vegas, it does seem suspicious, but maybe not on the same scale because of how Kucherov came out flying. And as you could tell last night, Stone and Max Pacioretty weren't quite the 100% in the same player that they normally are. And look at where they are in the lineup right now. You have Eichel, Dadonov, Nicholas Waugh on the quote-unquote first line. Then you have Marchessault, Carlson, and Amadio. Then you have Chandler Stevenson, good God, Mark Stone, and Pacioretty as your quote-unquote third line. I think if you look at that in comparison to what Tampa Bay did, I think they're great players, but right now they're not 100%.
No, I guess that's a fair point.
Along with the fact that they might not even make the fucking playoffs.
Yeah,
so it might not even matter.
Well, it might. It just. I think that people, sort of the whole. It's the look. I think with Vegas, it's just. I mean, and I guess with Tampa too. I mean, it's the whole look. It just like.
It doesn't look good. No, optics are terrible.
The optics are absolutely terrible, and this is not a situation like there's, other than pride, in a lot of ways. I think Vegas was looking at this and saying, you don't need to win the division to get into the Stanley Cup, the Stanley Cup final. You can get it from a bottom end. And I think that they overestimated where they were at a little bit. And look, I think Vegas is healthy. They're a damn tough team, but they weren't healthy. And they took a risk. I think in a lot of ways they took a risk, and hoped that some of these players would be back in time for the playoffs, and everything would just go flying through here. And that's I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Vegas is going to get in. I think Nashville and Dallas and LA are going to hang on here because LA has a pretty easy schedule. Like, I know that they're like, people are like, Drew Doughty's out for the year. Drew Doughty has been out forever. Like, he's been out for a long time. So I don't like they're stumbling along. I totally agree, but I don't think that Vegas can catch them.
No. It's yeah, they might have an easy schedule. I haven't taken a look at it, so that's I'm going off of what you're saying as far as the schedule goes. But they need to figure out, okay, who's your goaltender, because they've been going back and forth between
talking about the Kings.
Yeah, the Kings. Peterson and Quick. It's been 2 games for Peterson, 2 games for Quick, and back and forth basically the entire year. You need to figure out who their goaltender is and ride him a little bit and figure out, okay, yes, they've been absolutely demolished in the back end there, and relying on Sean Durzi to be playing 23 plus minutes a night, which is, he's a hell of a player. And
I love Sean. I am a Sean Durzian.
Right. But you realistically, you lost 3 of your top 4 defensemen in Drew Doughty, Sean Walker, and Mikey Anderson.
Yeah, that's hard.
And now you're relying on Alexander Edler. Sorry, I loved you as a Canuck, but man, you're old and you're slow. But you're still expected to play second pairing minutes with Troy Stetcher and Matt Roy, and Sean Durzi. I don't know. It's nothing against those players. It's just you're relying on them to carry your back end, and that can be very detrimental in the long run, and not knowing exactly, okay, are you relying on Jonathan Quick or are you going to go Peterson? Good God.
Well, after this game, after tonight, they got Colorado. The rest of the year, Columbus, Anaheim, home to Columbus, road trip Anaheim, home to Chicago, home to Anaheim, and then they finish to Seattle and Vancouver.
Yeah, okay. That's as far as schedules go, for sure. That's pretty easy. So that they might roll there, or they might not. They might keep on stumbling, because in their past 10, they're 4-4-2.
Yeah, and then they had that tough week against Calgary and Edmonton. They lost both of those games at home in regulation too, and that was huge. So, and
they haven't been that great at home. They're just over 500 at home. 18-16-4, and on their way is way better at 21-10-6.
Yeah, and so they have 4 road games, 3 home games. So you're thinking Vegas can let's look at Vegas's schedule here while we're at it.
Bring up Vegas schedule, because right now, okay, Vegas has a game in hand of LA, and they are 3 points back.
So this is the Knights have the Flames tomorrow, the Oilers on Saturday, the Devils on Monday at home, the Capitals on Wednesday at home, the Sharks on the April 24th at home, and then the Stars on the 26th. That'll be a huge game.
That's
Tuesday
massive.
That's massive. And let me see if that is it. And then you have Chicago and St. Louis at the end. So they definitely have the tougher schedule. The Knights have the tougher schedule than the Kings do.
Yeah. I'd be very curious to see how, like, if Vegas does get in, they deserve it. With that schedule, being behind by 3 points with the game in hand. And I would say watch the fuck out for them if they do, because if they get in on that schedule, they're going to be on fire coming into the playoffs. And that's scary. And I mean, I don't think they would make the wild card. I think they would be the 3 seed if that's the case, but holy fuck, who knows?
Well, and then if that's the 3 seed, then they get the Oilers in the first round. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
And you have Evander Kane with the Oilers. You already have that sort of inbred rivalry. You've got McDavid versus Eichel. Although this isn't, I don't think we're still not getting 100% Jack Eichel, but he's getting there.
He is. And that's why I think that's why I rolled out the lines. And I'm surprised that you have Pacioretty, Stevenson, and Stone on that line. I know that that's what the line was before Eichel was here, and maybe trying to get some familiarity of that line back together. But get Stone on that top line. Get Pacioretty on that top line. Or get one of them on that top line. I think would be Stone, because then you'd have Dandanoff, Eichel, and Stone together.
Well, and then the third period when Vegas last night, when Vegas was all over Vancouver, I mean, Vancouver didn't get a proper shot on goal until about 2.5, 3 minutes left in the period. So, like, what they can, the ability of what you can do. And that's why I think for Thursday, the Flames have to knock them the hell out. Like, I just don't think you want this team in the playoffs. They have
too scary.
They have the two. They get in, they're going to cause problems. And, I've been listening to some Colorado Avalanche talk a little bit, and they don't feel that there is a true contender for them for the Stanley Cup. I think if Vegas gets in, they are going to cause Colorado a lot of problems.
Alec Martinez just got back in the lineup 2 weeks ago, or last week.
Yeah,
one of the two. And once he gets his game back, you have Pietrangelo, Martinez, Theodore McNabb, and Zach Whitecloud as your top 3 or top 5 defensemen.
They're
sneaky good.
They are.
And like I said, if they roll on that schedule, that's scary going into the playoffs. If they're rolling like that, they deserve it. If they do, they really do.
Yeah.
But I mean, going back to our original point of the LTIR, they made it happen. It doesn't matter whether or not you think it's wrong or right. The fact is that it happened. Suck it up and deal with it. Realistically.
Yeah, I wish they got to change the ruling on it, or they create a reserve. There's got to be something around that fixes that in some way, because it does look weird. But
well, I know that they were talking about having a salary cap in the playoffs, right? Bringing that salary cap into the playoffs, which I don't see what would change. It shouldn't change much, if anything. As far as your same mentality throughout the regular season would bleed into the playoffs, which makes sense to me. I don't see why they don't have that.
But yeah, my only counter to that though is the playoffs is a war of attrition, and you need as many players. Like I do think
totally.
You need to expand the rosters to make it, because it's a war of attrition. And especially, again, this year's it's going to be a hectic playoff schedule. I think they'll have to increase the roster.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, if we're talking about $10 million, $18 million over the cap in the playoffs, okay, that's not fair, right? So maybe increase it to, instead of having it, what is it right now? 81.5 million, something like that. Increase it to, I don't know, not 90 or 89 or 88 or $7 or $8 million over the cap, because that gives one player, basically one really good player, a chance to come back if they're injured, right? Not $18 million over the cap injured. Right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that Vegas is missing is they're missing Riley Smith. That's a big part of their top 6.
He is a huge miss on that for sure. Yeah.
So it's not like you have Eichel, Stone, Pacioretty, and no offense to Carlson, Marchessault, Dadonov, but they're no Riley Smith. I'm sorry. Riley Smith is arguably the best out of those Carlson, Marchessault, and Dadonov.
Yeah. For sure. The other, I mean, but it's going to be fascinating what happens in Vegas too, because if they don't make the playoffs, they may make some significant changes. But too, you look at their draft picks. We were having a chat about the 2017 draft in another chat, because there's a Flyers fan. Do you realize that the Vegas had 3 first round picks in that draft, and they're all not with the team? Cody Glass, not with the team. Nick Suzuki, not with the team. And Eric Brunstrom, not with the team.
How much would they love to have Nick Suzuki in this lineup over Max Pacioretty? No offense, Max.
That was a bad trade.
Yeah. And what Nick Suzuki does is he's a 200-foot player. He's a 3-zone player.
Yeah. They have not, like, if you evaluate their trades, they haven't done that well. They have not done good trades. Not really. Like the Stone trade, I think fine. The Pacioretty trade, I don't think that I would still would give Montreal the win. The Fleury trade to Chicago was a terrible trade.
Yep.
To be fair to Nolan Patrick, he hasn't been healthy, and I'm really concerned for him.
Well, he hasn't been healthy his entire career.
Yeah. But that doesn't turn out to be a good trade.
No.
I mean, yeah, they signed Alex Pietrangelo as a free agent. The Martinez trade, he's a good player, but they haven't exactly knocked it out of the park with trades. LA got 2 second-round picks in 2020 and a second-round pick, and so that will be interesting. And who did the? Yeah, so I don't know. They're fascinating. It's fascinating to me.
I think that they'll be missing Ryan Reeves.
That's going to be a huge. That is
especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's where you need him.
I think it was only a second rounder going the other way. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, third rounder. And I'm sorry, I don't think that was a smart trade by McCrimmon and crew. And not to mention Alex Tuck. Yeah, he was in the Jack Eichel trade, but Alex Tuck, what he's done in Buffalo since he's been back, says a lot.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, it's tough to say that you got Jack Eichel, and I don't think they gave that much up, but Buffalo, just to go on a tangent here, Buffalo is very interesting.
They're going to be sneaky good.
Yeah.
They just need to find goaltending.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. They, if I'm Buffalo, do you know who I go after?
Who?
Carter Hart.
Oh, man. Well, Philly has just said that they are looking to do a full rebuild.
They need to. They're a mess.
Or maybe they no, I don't think they actually said that. I think that they
didn't say full rebuild. I think if Chuck Fletcher said they need to take the time, Comcast doesn't want to take the time. It's sort of it sounds like a little bit of an Aquilini relationship there.
Yeah.
Where I think the general manager has one idea and Aquilini has the other idea. So
yeah, well, they need to figure out they can't be tweeting this shit because you have Sanheim, who's potentially on the trading block. You have Provorov on the trading block. You have Carter Hart, who has struggled last year. This year, he's been a bit better, not much though. Trading for what's his name? Cam Atkinson. I don't know if that was a sideways deal. Signing Ryan Ellis. I don't know. They just re-signing Ristolainen as well. It seems like they're just meandering. It's not really progressing in the right direction. Travis Konechny's name has been on the trading block forever. I think the fact that they got Owen Tippett is a good step in the right direction. They have Morgan Frost, who is a good young player as well. Bobby Brink as well. Noah Cates. They have some good players, but it's time to transition, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Just can we touch on the Kraken here? Because I did want to talk to them just for a quick second here.
Yeah.
Because I've been following them. just will lead to. I mean, we'll maybe talk about Owen Power here too as this blends, and maybe we'll end with Matthews. But Vince Dunn, Adam Larson, I think is going to be a really good pair for them going forward. I really really like Adam Larson. Matty Beniers though he is legit. Like I don't know about you, but I was really impressed with him last night.
He's going to be a hell of a player in this league. He will be a great shutdown, and I think he's going to win a Selke. I'm going to be that bold.
Oh, Matty Beniers will win a Selke. Ooh,
I think he has all the tools in that bag. He really does.
Yeah, down the middle, they're going to be fine with Beniers and McCann. Their issue all year has been goaltending. Like they just allow goals and they can't score. That was the other problem, but they just allow goals at such terrible times.
I think it has to do with coaching.
Yeah,
Hacksaw, he's going to get fired.
I think Dave Tippett's going to be there next year. I think Tippett will be the coach with the Kraken next year.
Maybe. I mean, how much better is Tippett going to be? I'm sorry, I don't. What has Tippett done as a head coach in this league?
Well, the reason I put Tippett there is because he was with the organization before he signed on with the Oilers.
Fair.
So I think he has an idea what they want to do. Greg Wyshynski brought the idea that it would be nice if you could bring Haskell in as an assistant, but it's just not how that works.
No, I don't think so. If you need a new, you can't take that step sideways or backwards. It's a fine balance between that. He needs to get fired and someone else needs to come in and I don't know if that's David Tippett or Dave Tippett, because Grubauer, I don't think I don't know the analytics as far as how good he's been. Maybe it's the type of style that Seattle plays that they're not really helping Grubauer be the Grubauer of last year with Colorado. That defensive core isn't as bad as I think it's shown. Vince Dunn, like you said, Vince Dunn and Adam Larson, I really like them as a pairing. Aletsniak and Susie, I think that they're good as well. And you have a young player in Hayden Fleury, who I think you can't really give him the reins yet, but he's a good young player. He's only 25. I don't know. I just think that it's hard to give Grubauer some shit when I think it's just the tactics that are in front of him and the playmaking of Hackstall.
Well, the only thing, like, I'm not going to be I'm no analytics guy. Like, I'm not a person that delves deep into it, but this is what my eye shows. The Kraken will put on offensive pressure. They'll have a sustained load of pressure. They're gaining momentum, and it just seems to me that there's been so many times that they find a way to get a goal scored on them. I've seen that so many times this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know where and it's not like I've seen a lot of, oh my God, that was a hell of a play. It's a shot.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I haven't watched enough Kraken to give my 2 cents, but I just think that Grubauer is too good of a goalie for this to be a massive downfall. And I think he'll have a bounce back year next year and could be in good contention, especially with the Pacific the way that it is. We said this at the beginning of the year. We have no idea what Calgary's going to be in front of with Darryl Sutter behind the bench. Vancouver has really didn't play as well or didn't do as well as we thought that they would. LA surprised everybody. Dallas kind of surprised everybody. Winnipeg played like shit. Anaheim jumped up at the beginning, first third of the year, and now they come back down to earth. So they're in a good division to to potentially, as far as a good division goes, what I'm talking about is there's a lot of validity, and you never know what's going to happen within this Pacific Division.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, before we get to Matthews, did you hear what happened to Ryan? Did you see the whole Ryan Hartman and Evander Kane situation?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So last night between the Oilers and the Wild, Evander Kane went after, I want to say Kaprizov or Zuccarello, and Ryan Hartman stepped in. They had a shoving match, and Ryan Hartman flipped him the bird. He literally, he gave him the finger. He was fined $4,250 for that gesture. But this is the funnier part, or this is where this gets better. Is there was a here? Let me hang on here. So, and this is. A fan, V-Mode, had Ryan Hartman's Venmo account, and she Venmoed Ryan Hartman $4,200, or he Venmoed some money towards his fine, and they actually raised funds for Ryan Hartman's fine so he could pay it off.
Amazing. Oh, I'm seeing the tweet right here. Anna Kane.
Yeah.
So is that that must be
Kane's?
Is that a fan, or is that
that sounds like a Minnesota Wild fan for me. She paid him $200.
Is Anna Kane Evander Kane's wife or ex-wife?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even connect. I don't know.
I'm just searching up. Yeah, it's Anna Kane. That's his ex-wife.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even include that part in. Oh my gosh.
That makes it that much better. That's amazing.
I didn't even include that part in. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's so good. Wow. Oh my God. Evander Kane, you just keep on being the fucking circus clown that you are. And you keep on bringing the gold. Holy shit.
Well, Hartman's quote. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Just good on Anna Kane. I think that's fucking awesome. That's great.
What did Hartman say after the game? Because he was asked about the bird. He said something. He said, Ryan Hartman on Evander. This is from Michael Russo. Ryan Hartman on Evander Kane and protecting Kirill Kaprizov. It goes to show we had 5 guys in there. They didn't have one guy in there to help them. I don't think any of their guys are going to defend them. And he was asked if he was fine for his gesture. He said it would be well worth it. So,
wow, love it.
That's
awesome. That's
good. So we haven't got into this, but Auston Matthews got to 56 goals. Looks like he's going to be, by chance, I think it's a fair expectation. Would we expect Auston Matthews to get the 60 goals?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to bring up their schedule here, but yeah, I think that he's unreal. He's on an amazing clip, record breaking for his own career, and it's fun to watch. He's an unreal player. He's one off of 100 points, and getting to 65, I think or over 60, I think is doable. I really do. Their schedule looks like they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games left. And yeah, I think he does it. I think so.
Now, I think the other thing at this point too is locking down second place, looking like Tampa Bay or Boston in the first round, realistically. And
I hope it's Boston. I really do. I think that if they're going to do it, slay the dragon, cut the head off, and keep going.
Well, that would be the fire, right? Because then you got Toronto, Boston, which I think would be a delicious series, and then you got Florida, Tampa, which we know will be a delicious series in and of itself.
Yep.
That would be Eastern Conference. Man, Eastern Conference is going to be fun anyway because you've got Carolina, Washington. You got Carolina. Well, no, it's going to be. Sorry, it will be Tampa. It would be probably Tampa, Carolina, and then Florida playing Washington.
Maybe. Oh, because you have Boston, Boston, Tampa, so that it'd be so Boston, Tampa would switch places, Toronto versus Boston, and then Tampa versus hopefully Florida, but it could be Carolina. Either one of those, because I do want to see the Tampa or the Florida rivalry because that was such a good one last year, and I don't know if you remember this, but obviously up here there was no fans in the stands, but down there everybody was allowed, and it was the first time seeing that and feeling that atmosphere. Let alone obviously they had a bunch of scrums before the playoffs, and then during the playoffs it was just a complete and utter mayhem. It was amazing. So I would love to see that.
Yeah, I don't know if Washington's going to be able to catch up, though. That's the question.
It's true. It's very true.
They're a little far behind for that.
Yeah.
But I get it. I totally. Yeah, to me, I mean, Matthews. Go ahead.
Just either way, Tampa Bay, Carolina would be amazing too. Todd, like the top. Tampa's really struggled lately. They have not been the team that they have been for the past few years. They are 5-3-2 in their past 10, which isn't great for them. Usually they're hitting maybe a 7-2-1 kind of stint, but the fact that they've kind of dropped a little bit here is interesting because you do have it's been since the trade deadline. Brendan Hagel and Nick Paul have not really made a massive difference within that lineup. And I think talking about chemistry in the room, I don't think the chemistry is there, and that it was shook when Radish went the other way in the Hagel deal.
Yeah, they did give up a lot. But you got the thing with them too is you still have It's hard for me to say that they're going to be in trouble when you have proven playoff players like Patrick Maroon, Cory Perry, Victor Hedman still Victor Hedman, and you still have Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. They're going to be they're still going to be hard to beat. And
Kucherov hasn't really been himself though.
No, he only has he only has 15 goals this year.
And how many does Perry have? I believe he has. He almost has 19. Oh, he almost has 20.
Cory Perry has 20 goals.
Almost. Or do you have it in front of you?
I got to find it. Hang on.
Yeah, it's Either way, Kucherov isn't really himself as of lately, and that's a little concerning. Cory Perry has 17 goals this year.
Well, to be fair, Kucherov only played 38 games.
Yeah, but at the same time, you would think that he would be on a better clip than he is at this point in the season, especially coming up to the playoffs, right?
-9.
Yeah,
like I mean, I know that people don't care about plus minus, but well, that's
there's outliers though.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's only played 36 games, 30 plus games, -9 isn't good, especially on that team.
Yeah. They're it's going to be interesting because I mean that's the whole question is this is the Colorado and Tampa will be interesting test because it's going to be Colorado and Florida really because they're going to be the number one seeds. And it's not often that number one seeds don't always win championships, but nope. Tampa Bay could be they could be a chaos creator.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't count them. You can't count them out. And to Sean's point, the superstars on Tampa will turn it on in the playoffs. They have the higher potential to do so, but until they do that, man, I'm sorry. Like, look what happened against Columbus 2 years ago. Bounced.
Yeah.
Swept.
Yeah, I mean, but Carolina have proven playoff success? They got to the Eastern Final a couple years ago.
Yeah, they got to the second round as well. In another year.
Yeah, they've been pretty successful, and then
They've been really good. He Rod the Bod.
He's got things to.
Oh
there.
Man, yeah. Rest in peace, Gilbert. By the way, Gilbert Godfrey. That was it's sad.
Very
sad time. But yeah, I don't think he can really count out Carolina, their depth, their goaltending this year. Freddie Anderson, best save percentage. And God, they're just a workhorse.
Do you know who was an ass to play against?
Who?
I didn't realize this. It's Svechnikov. Andrei Svechnikov.
Oh yeah,
he's a prick.
He is a prick. He's a feisty dude. Remember him fighting Ovi in the playoffs?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So he has some bite to him. They definitely have some playoff performers there in Carolina.
Yeah, that will be man. I can't wait for a couple of weeks because I think there's going to be a lot of really good. I think every single matchup in the first round is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, the only one that I'm kind of okay. Who matches up against LA? Because if LA is meandering like they are right now, I don't think it's gonna be that interesting. But everything else, I agree with you. And
it's LA Edmonton though,
as of right now, yeah.
Although they won't have Drew Doughty, which would be that just makes that series would be so much better with Drew Doughty in it.
Totally, yeah. And I guess whoever plays the Capitals will be kind of a bottom tier as well for me. Just because of yes, you have Ovi, but their goaltending situation isn't the best.
Yeah, that looks like that's Florida. But you may have you got Pittsburgh and the Rangers. You will have
that'll be amazing. By the way, holy shit! I hope that happens.
Minnesota, St. Louis. I think that's going to be a really tough series either way.
Yep.
Nashville is going to give Calgary a fight. I really believe that.
They Roman Yossi, like we went down that lineup. Yeah, totally. They'll. If that's the case, yes, it'll be every single one of these is going to be really good.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
and we'll be there to discuss it all. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
Well, we kind of started on Matthews and went away from him a little bit, but
completely.
That's okay. Matthews, he speaks for himself. I think, like I said, I think he'll get 60 plus goals. If not, I hope he gets to 65. I think that'd be fun. I think he might have a Hattie in him in one of these last 9 games of the year. But yeah, he's a superstar.
Maybe let me get your perspective on this, because I angered your brother who's in the chat.
That's not that hard to do.
I said that there are only 6 superstars in the National Hockey League. And I said that they're Matthews, McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Crosby, Ovechkin. And the reason I said that there's only 6 is because those are the ones that the NHL is all that. Those are the guys that, like, they're sort of the faces of the league. Maybe I need to use a different word. But, and I think where the discussion is confusing is, like, Victor Hedman and Nikita Kucherov's and Steven Stamkos, Vasilevsky, Johnny, like, they're great players, but I don't see them labeled or masked as superstars. I would call them stars. Am I making sense with what I'm saying?
You have different tiers, and you have different labeling. Certain players is very hard, and it's a good argument to have. Now, Johnny Gaudreau is a superstar in my mind. I truly believe that he is, but I understand where you're coming from with faces of the league, right? because faces of the league are players that are well known, household names: Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid, Matthews, and man, I Draisaitl, I'd say he's definitely, I think he's a superstar. We don't see him as a 200-foot player. Can he score goals? Yes, and goals are they're hard. NHL goals are hard to come by, right? So he is not a face of the league, but he's a superstar, right?
So maybe I need to relabel this megastar, superstar, star.
Yeah, you definitely could if you want to. Like you know that Sean's going to go off on this.
Or he already is. Look at the chat.
Oh yeah,
not a face of the league. Kachuk's more of a face of the league than Draisaitl.
Ooh,
no, I would disagree.
I understand where you're coming from, man, but no, I don't think so. But yeah, it's all about interpretation of what you think is the tiers are in the NHL. And being a face of the league doesn't mean you have to put up points or anything like that. Or because if you're looking at face of the league, how many faces are there?
Well, I mean, okay, so you got McDavid, Matthews, Crosby, Ovechkin for sure.
Yes.
I would say McKinnon for sure.
Yeah. He would be a tweener for me for face.
It's hard not to put Draisaitl in there because he's won scoring championships, and every conversation about Leon Draisaitl is he's one of the 2 best players in the league. That's what he's known for.
And obviously the best passer in the league, bar none.
Yes, to bring this world round.
Yeah, no, it's a good debate. It really is. McKinnon, in my mind, oh God, it's really hard to say. It really is. There's no definite answer to this. There really isn't.
Yeah, because I would put Gaudreau just on the just under that.
McKinnon, McKinnon, Gaudreau as far as a tiering, like McKinnon, Gaudreau, just Gaudreau being a bit below McKinnon, because because Marner could be up there as well, and he'd be on that second tier. Then you'd have Kaprizov as a second tier, maybe not right now, but he definitely will be eventually because he scores like a motherfucker. Yeah. And Jason Robertson is close there too. Not a face, but like I'm just thinking about scorers because scorers are the ones that the kids look up to. The players who put up points all the time. Those are the people. I guess that's where it is. Is that you look at the kids. Who do the kids look up to, and why?
Scorers. Yeah,
the scorers. Exactly.
Yeah.
And those are the that's what you want your face of your company to be. And the NHL is a company, so put your scorers up there and let them ride. Who's going to be at Hockey Life? Who's going to be on there? Right? It's going to be like those players. Yeah. So I guess those are the face of the franchise. But labeling only them as superstars, I don't think is fair because there are more superstars within this league.
I guess to me, it's hard. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well, but I just feel like the NHL
I do understand where you're coming from.
Good, because I think the NHL puts so much money or investment into those guys, and not as much into some of these other players that are great players. If that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because you have the Mikko Rantanens as well. You have the Gabe Landeskog, like the captains of the teams, right? Are going to be faces of their franchise.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have faces of the league who are just a tier above them, essentially, or close to it. But then it's like, okay, well, who's respected in the league is another one too, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that Ted Lindsay is easily Connor McDavid's. I don't think there's any debate about that to me. But
yeah. It's a fascinating debate. I do understand where you're coming from. I don't know if you're labeling them properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave it there while I
Yes.
contemplate that. How do we follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at Gordhouse09.
Sean Beardy Canuck 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneid's SCHNEIDZ. Do you miss him, by the way?
Never.
Okay. Because of course he's out in West Kelowna now. And I am KEVLE, Shifts and Pucks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. We'll be back with our news packs and other stuff. We also are planning a WHL playoff preview and other things, so keep an eye out. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.